Today's video is about the history of and adaptive reuse of the Hayden Burns Library into the Jesse Ball DuPont Center in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. However, before we get into that, let's look into some of the history of the city of Jacksonville leading to the construction of this building. In 1901, there was a large fire known as the Great Fire of 1901 that destroyed much of the city of Jacksonville at the time. This led to a massive influx of new architects from all over the country and even outside of the country. This ended up leading to a very interesting and unique architectural style found exclusively in Jacksonville. One building needed to be rebuilt during this time was a new library. This led to the creation of the Carnegie Library. This library served as the city's main library until it became too small and obsolete to keep up with the rapidly growing city. This ultimately led to the creation of a new library, the Hayden Burns Library. The Hayden Burns Library is one of the most iconic buildings in the sea of unique and interesting buildings in downtown Jacksonville, Florida. You can ask most people over 30 years old in the city about it, and they will likely have some memory or at least recognize the iconic green tiles and massive fins on the walls. The Hayden Burns Library began construction in 1964, being designed by architect Taylor Hardwick. It would open a year later in 1965 and be named after William Hayden Burns, the former and longest-serving mayor of Jacksonville from 1949 to 65, and later 35th governor of Florida from 1965 to 67. The Hayden Burns Library took the place of the former library, the Carnegie Library, which is located right across the street. The Hayden Burns Library would serve as Jacksonville's primary public library until being closed down by the city in 2005, when it, unfortunately, fell into disrepair. The library's modern design and colorful construction lay vacant and falling apart for almost a decade. The once thriving community center was empty and barren, with many citizens who grew up going to the library even coming to take some of the iconic green Italian tiles that can be seen on the pillars of the building, and many of the rooms lay covered in graffiti. That was until 2013, when a local, Jacksonville-based nonprofit organization, the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund, purchased the building for $2.2 million and promised to refurbish it. A goal of the fund was to adaptively reuse the iconic and unique building. They aimed to keep the structure as similar to how it was before while adapting it to be more environmentally friendly and modern. This included rainwater collection systems on the roof that filtered water for drinking, and solar panels fitted to the top of the building to use natural energy to power the building as well as heating all of the water. To ensure their process stayed within the original design, the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund reached out to the original architect, Taylor Hardwick, who told them about his ideas that were never used, and who gave his approval for the designs and changes. A large focus of this project was on preserving as much of the building as possible. This led to an effort to reclaim the lost green tiles, which they were ultimately successful at, with members of the community returning thousands of the little green glass tiles. Furthermore, the former main desk of the library, which was no longer needed, was taken apart and the wood was used for benches that can be found throughout the center. Finally, the puppet theater, an iconic feature of the original library, was viewed as being highly iconic, so the Jesse Ball DuPont Fund decided to minimally change it, only repainting and adding some new lights, while keeping the actual architecture of the room completely intact, with its iconic exposed brick and unique stage remaining to this day. Today, the Jesse, as the center is now called, provides spaces for nonprofit organizations to set up shop for significantly cheaper rent and focus on working amongst each other. The center also works on community assistance through programs and amenities open to the public, and providing voices to local artists of color who did all the artwork that now features on the exterior of the building. The Jesse Ball DuPont Center is a shining example of adaptive reuse and shows just how useful a reused building can be for the environment and the community.